So who are we hunting? Alright, what do we got? President Trump speaks with Air Force One. He was going to the Pope to go see the funeral. So what we got?
We're going for a good reason. You have any questions?
What do you hope Steve Witkoff will get out of his meeting with Putin today?
He'll be calling me. They just left the meeting. I haven't been briefed yet, but he had it. I hear a pretty good meeting.
Has the President any update on Secretary Nixon? Your confidence in him?
About what?
Signal, having Signal on his
I don't view Signal as.
computer. What do you think?
I don't view Signal as important. I think it's fake news, really. I don't view it as
You
important.
said you were going to be meeting with some leaders while you were in Rome attending the Pope's funeral. Who were you
Meeting with
attending?
some people in Rome, yes.
Who were you meeting with?
And a little bit quickly, and frankly, it's a little disrespectful to have meetings when you're at the funeral of a pope.
So you're going to be meeting
They say. I mean, but I'll be talking to people. I'll be seeing a lot of people, including the Prime Minister of Italy.
Would you plan to speak with President Biden?
Very, very good Prime Minister. What?
President Biden, any plans to
David,
talk with him?
in honor of the Pope, I am going
I
to
didn't
say
know
the
that.
word.
I mean, it's not high on my list.
These journalists and news media outlets are acting in such misogyny.
That's a terrible thing. The judge was arrested because he was housing a trendy Iroquois. Right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Fragile.
It's pretty surprising. It's terrible.
Mr. President, you said that you've spoken to President Xi multiple times. Is that since taking office, sir?
I don't want to discuss that, but I'm speaking to a lot of people from China, but I'm speaking to people from all over the world.
He said China.
On the tariffs,
Fuck.
and
Do
we're
I
making
have
very
to play
good
the
deals.
sound?
Very
God
good
damn.
deals. It's going to make our country rich. We're not
I
going to be
forgot.
ripped off like we have been for the last literally 50 years.
President, there was a car bomb in Moscow until this morning that killed a Russian general. Do you have any reaction to that? Any impact?
No, I just heard you just tell me that for the first time. Where did this take place?
It took place in Moscow. It was a Russian general.
Oh, he's talking about the recent. Apparently. Where is it? I have it. I just gotta find it. So it's somewhere in here. Yeah, right here. This one.
Close to home, right? That's a big one. Yeah, I'll look at it. If I hear anything, I'll let you know.
When you see these leaders in Rome, it's more like mix and mingle at the funeral, right? Or you're having individual one-on-ones?
It's a little tough because we don't have much time, and we're arriving at about 11:30, and we have some people meeting us already, and then I'm taking pictures with the military tonight when we get to the house at 12 o'clock, the embassy, and so we don't have really much time. And then, as you know, tomorrow morning we're sort of leaving early. I think that we're going to try and see a couple of people that are important to what we're doing.
Why did you feel it was important to go to the Pope's funeral?
I just thought it was out of respect. You know, I won the Catholic vote, and I think it's the first time that ever happened where a Republican won the vote, and I won it by a lot. And, I have a great relationship to the Catholics. Very simple. What do you think of it? But I won the Catholic vote. We got 56% of the vote. I don't know why we didn't get more, actually. I don't know how they got any. But we did well with the Catholic vote, and my relationship is very good. So therefore, I think it's appropriate.
So it wasn't said that Secretary Bessent said that you wouldn't drop tariffs on China unilaterally, that you would need to see some kind of movement. What do you want to see from China?
That's right. I'm not going to drop them unless they give us something that's, substantial. Otherwise, I'm not going to drop them. But it'll all work out. Those things always work out. We're working in a lot of projects right now. The wall is solved. The border is the most secure it's ever been. We're having a very hard time with judges because they don't want people to be moved out of the country. Shockingly, nobody's ever had this before. No other president. There's never been a time when this has ever become an issue where they talk about due process when you have millions of people that you're moving out that are really bad people, very dangerous people, and you have a judge that wants every single one of them to have a trial. So they want us to have millions of trials, therefore. And how long does the trial take? Weeks? Trial can take weeks. That's not what it's about. That's not what our country's about. And that's not what I got elected on. And these are judges that just want to, show how big and important they are. They're local federal judges, and they shouldn't be allowed to do it. We have hundreds of thousands of people that we want to get out of the country. And the courts are holding us back. Some judge that nobody ever heard of is holding us back. It's very dangerous for our country. I mean, you want to see a country that'll have crime? Let that happen, because it's really dangerous for our country, and I can't believe the Supreme Court would let that stand.
What kind of movement do you consider
Yeah, basically
substantial from China?
the judges or the Supreme Court is trying
free
to
up
block
China,
off any
let
other
us go in and work
right,
China because
deportations.
frankly, that's what we wanted last time. We
immigrants.
almost got it, and then they backed out of that deal. But we had it to go into China and sell our product, sell our wares. In other words, it's called to open China. That would be great. That would be a big win. But I'm not even sure I'm going to ask for it because they don't want it open. They don't want it open.
On the immigration front,
Big thing with the tariffs. But because of tariffs, I could possibly get that. What do you think? Opening up China would be a big win, right? The problem is no matter how big the win is, the press will not give me credit for it. If I got the greatest win in history, they'll pay us trillions and trillions of dollars. They'll give us anything we want. The press will say, Trump, he just had a terrible defeat. He suffered a terrible defeat. But the people know. No, I think we're going to have a lot of big wins. I don't know if it's going to be covered that way by the fake news, but the wins are going to be very substantial. We're losing. We were losing with Biden. $5 billion a day. Think of that. $5 billion a day. I've got that number way down, and soon it's going to be very, very positive. We're going to make. We'll be making $5 billion a day, but we have a little ways to go yet. A little ways to go.
Mr. President, can I ask you about the Texas Senate primary? The Texas Senate primary with John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. Are you going to get involved? Have you talked to the candidates?
Well, they're both friends of mine. I like them both. In a way, I wish they weren't running against each other. But I like Paxton. I like Cornyn. They're both good people. So I'll make a decision somewhere along the line. But you have two very good men.
I have a question on your immigration agenda. Yesterday, a judge in San Francisco put a nationwide injunction on you guys taking money away from sanctuary cities. Your reaction to that, and I have a question about the markets.
It's unbelievable when you hear a judge in San Francisco or a judge in San Diego does nationwide injunctions having to do with the whole country, sitting behind a bench, a local bench, even though in some cases, in many cases, they're a federal judge, but a judge can close down. We should close down sanctuary cities. We shouldn't have sanctuary cities. And
Yeah,
we'll see
wrong.
how that turns out. But
Yeah, some of these
sanctuary
judges
cities
are fucking
sanctuary for
unhinged.
criminals. That's what they are. They're sanctuary for criminals. They protect criminals. And we should close them down. If we want a safe country, you have to get rid of sanctuary cities.
President, on India and Pakistan, there are tensions after the attack in Kashmir. You got any message for them? Are you going to be talking to their
I'm very
leaders?
close to India and I'm very close to Pakistan, as you know. And they've had that fight for 1,000 years in Kashmir. Kashmir's been going on for 1,000 years, probably longer than that. And it was a bad one yesterday, though. That was a bad one. Over 30 people.
Are you concerned that there's now tensions on the border between them? Are you concerned about how concerned are you about
Well,
that?
there have been tensions on that border for 1,500 years. So, you know, the same as it's been. But they'll get it figured out one way or the other. I'm sure that it's. I know both leaders. There's great tension between Pakistan and India, but there always has been.
So you've done the 190-day pause on some of the tariffs. Is it possible you'll have to do another 90-day or another
So
extension?
Probably
apparently,
unlikely. I
after
think I
the
know pretty much.
Phelan
And again,
massacre,
You know, we'll have deals made, but we'll also
there
make
was
deals.
Pakistan's fear
words,
of
we just set the
India.
tariff
So there's another
We'll be reasonable, very
terrorist
reasonable.
attack
And,
happening.
That'll be the end. That's the deal. This year, we set the price. They want to come in. Now they set the price for their country, but everybody
26
wants to come
people,
into
about
ours. They
30.
don't
He
want to
said
come
30.
into theirs. Most people don't want to come into theirs.
Do you think the markets are adjusting to your tariff policy?
So when you look at what's happening, I think so. You know, I said there'd be a transition. People haven't understood it. Now they're starting to understand it. You know, look, think of it this way. We've lost billions of dollars a day for years on trade. Billions. Not going to happen. We're going to make billions of dollars a day. Because that's not sustainable.
Can you commit that nobody on your financial team was giving any type of tips to Wall Street executives about deals with India? There was some reporting yesterday that people had heads up on Wall Street, possibly to make money. Can you commit that did not happen?
I can commit to myself. That's all I can commit. You know, I have thousands of people that work for me, but I can't imagine anybody doing that. I have very honorable people that I can say, so I can't even imagine it. But no, I haven't even heard that actually.
So there have been some concerns about access to food, medicine coming into Gaza. When you spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu the other day, did that come up at all about access and humanitarian aid going into
No,
Israel?
but Gaza came up, and I said, you know, we gotta be good to Gaza. Those people are suffering. We got to be good to Gaza. We're going to take care of that. There's a very big need for
So
medicine.
her question
food,
was
and
about
medicine.
humanitarian
We're taking
aid,
care of it.
and he
In terms of like
basically
opening up more
said
access
that.
points or
Very hard.
pushing
He
Israelis
asked about
Yeah.
Gaza.
to open up more access
Very
points?
hard to get food and medicine into Gaza.
How did the Prime Minister respond to that?
Well, felt well about it. Okay.
You've got these Iran technical talks tomorrow in Oman. What do you think any kind
The
of...
Iran situation's coming out very well. We've had a lot of talks with them, and I think we're going to have a deal. I'd much rather have a deal than the other alternative. That'd be good for humanity.
Will it start with an interim deal of some sort, or how is it
I
going
think
to
it's
work?
going to be pretty much, we're not looking to do lots of long-term. It's a very simple deal. One thing, they just can't have a nuclear weapon. I'm saving them a lot of money just in that. Having a nuclear weapon is really expensive, but it's also very dangerous, and they can't have a nuclear weapon. And just that, I'm saving them billions and billions of dollars, because that's what it would cost. Now, with that being said, the Iran deal is coming along very well. We're dealing at the highest levels of Iran, and I think they want to make a deal, and we want to make a deal. There are some people that want to make a different kind of a deal, a much nastier deal. And I don't want that to happen to Iran, if we can avoid it. Thank you very much, everybody.
What's on tap for Melania's birthday?
Oh, she's going to have a great birthday. She's got a working birthday. She's up front. I should send her back. You want to have somebody answer a question? I'll send her back into the lion's pit. Susie, let's send Melania back to the lion's pit.
Are you taking her to dinner, Mr. President?
By the way, they would love that when you put her in. By the way, they would love that when you put her in. She'll be so innocent.
Can we see your office up there sometime this weekend?
Yeah, you can come up. We'll let them come up a little bit later, okay? We'll do it.
Are you taking Melania to
Maybe
dinner?
going back.
Are you taking Mrs. Trump to dinner, or have you had time to get her a present? You've been very busy.
I'll take her for dinner on the Boeing.
On the
I'll take her for
Boeing.
dinner on Air Force One.
There you go.
I haven't had much time to my
Dinner
presents.
on Air Force
We've been pretty
One.
busy. But it's working
And
out. Things are
presents.
working out very well. And people are starting to understand how good tariffs are for us. And, tariffs have been used against us for 50 years. Now, I never understood it as a private person why we allowed that to happen. You know, it goes back a long time, but I never understood it. Why did we allow that to happen? Where we couldn't go into China, but they could come here. We couldn't go into Europe, but they could come here.
I mean, he kind of like answered the question, sort of. I mean, there's not much he can do right now. It's just a waiting game for, right, some of these conflicts to just, right, come to the table and cool down, or, right, to get these things, right, there's like a couple things, there's, well, more than a couple things to get done in, like, each fucking conflict. And then you just had the fucking, right, India massacre that's been going on. And then you had this car explosion in Moscow.
War in Ukraine and what could be. All right, let's start with the war in Ukraine and what could be a pivotal few days. Right now, the White House Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, he's in Moscow and he's meeting, as you see right here, with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Both President Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky will be in Rome this weekend, but it's unclear if they will speak directly. Now, these talks are happening after a new apparent attack in Russia. You're seeing this footage. Authorities say a car bomb killed a senior military leader this morning, and an investigation is underway into the circumstances. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams has been following all of this for us from London. Holly, good morning to you. We know that it's still early in this breaking development, but what do we know about this explosion?
Good morning, Errol. Well, Russian officials say that Lieutenant General Yaroslav Moskalik was killed by an explosive device rigged with shrapnel and placed inside a car just outside of Moscow this morning.
IED.
Moskalik was a senior figure in the general staff of Russia's military. Russian media is reporting that the device was detonated remotely as he walked past.
Sounds like
the
same thing that happened fucking last time.
You may remember, Errol, that another Russian general was killed by a bomb hidden inside an electric scooter in Moscow back in December. And Ukrainian security sources later confirmed that Ukraine was behind that assassination.
There was also the one that
saw
killed
some footage
the
of White House envoy Steve Witkoff meeting with President Putin in
daughter
Russia
of
today.
the,
what at this point are we hearing from both sides about their conversations?
Well, Errol, this is Steve Witkoff's fourth visit to Russia this year. We don't know what came out of that meeting with Vladimir Putin today, if anything. But there is a lot of reporting about the terms of a possible ceasefire deal being proposed by the US, which is thought to include, or reportedly includes, excluding Ukraine from NATO membership and all the protection that that would bring, lifting some economic sanctions imposed on Russia because of Vladimir Putin's invasion, freezing the fighting close to the current front line. And remember that Russia currently occupies around 20% of Ukrainian territory, and recognizing Crimea as part of Russia. Now, as you know, Russia seized Crimea by force back in 2014, the first time that Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. Critics of that proposed ceasefire, or at least the terms that have been reported, say that it is highly favorable to Russia. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said this week that formally recognizing Crimea as part of Russia would be against his country's constitution. So that in particular seems to be a red line for the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are also worried that a ceasefire deal without adequate security guarantees, particularly from the United States, could leave the door open to Russia invading their country again in the future. Remember, Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine back in 2014 and then reneged on agreements to invade again in 2022. Russia, perhaps unsurprisingly, is sounding much more positive. In an interview yesterday with Face the Nation's Margaret Brennan, the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that Russia is, quote, ready to reach a deal, though he said that the terms still need to be fine-tuned. Errol.
Yeah, Holly, and we'll speak more about later this hour why the Constitution constrains what Zelensky can do, and we'll see some of that interview with Lavrov and our own Margaret Brennan. Holly Williams in London, thank you so much.
Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you. We'll see what happens. Trump speaks to reporters and takes questions before departing for Pope Francis's funeral. Mr. President, the oligarchs. The oligarchs are coming. Mr. President, do you know about the Holocaust?
I spoke to him numerous times. So we're leaving and going to Rome, where we'll be attending the funeral of Pope Francis. Some of you are going to go. Anybody going? And, it's going to be very interesting. We're going to meet with a lot of the foreign leaders. They want to meet. Trade deals are going very well. I think Russia and Ukraine, I think they're coming along, we hope. Very fragile. And Iran, I think, is going very well. We'll see what happens. We're working on plenty of things that shouldn't be worked on because none of this stuff should have happened. This should have been taken place by Biden. It should have been fixed by Biden, but he couldn't do it. Nor could he come.
You forgot to add in the business deals with all the countries and the tariffs.
We'll be leaving that same day. We'll
and
be
their
coming back home tomorrow
reciprocity
night.
and whatnot.
And I'll see some of you over there. Otherwise, I'll see you on television.
I'll see you on television.
You said you spoke with President Xi. Have you spoken to him since?
Xi, have you spoken to him?
I don't want to comment on that, but I've spoken to him many times. Yeah. From Japan, I'm getting along very well with Japan.
Trade deals from Japan. Close to a deal.
I'll be meeting with the Italian. Yes. Your Prime Minister? Oh, it's possible.
Italy's Prime Minister? Oh, it's possible. Someone else's Prime Minister.
He was just a good man. I met him twice. I thought he was a fantastic kind of a guy.
Time magazine that President Xi called you. When did that happen and what did you discuss?
Oh, Time
I'll let
magazine.
you know at the appropriate time. Let's see if we can make a deal.
The Witkoff-Putin meeting. Any updates on the Witkoff-Putin meeting, sir?
Witkoff-Putin.
They're meeting with Putin right now as we speak.
Oh, right now.
And we have a lot of things going on, and I think in the end we're going to end up with a lot of good deals, including tariff deals and trade deals. We're going to make our country rich, but we're going to try and get out of war so that we can save 5,000 people a week. And that's what my aim is. I want to save 5,000 young men. They happen to be mostly Ukrainian, Russian. 5,000 young Ukrainian and Russian men, and that's a big honor if I can do it.
That's the new number he started saying, like, what, 2?
No deadline. I just want to do it
3
as
days
fast
ago?
as possible. What?
Almost 5 days ago? Somewhere around there.
I think the tariff plan is doing very well. We're resetting the table. We're going to make our country very rich, very, very rich. It's already happening. Thank you very much.
There he goes. There's the Orange Man on his way. And there you have it. And they're going on the Air Force One Apache helicopter. Alright, anyways, there you have it. On he goes.